Hi, everybody. I'm sitting here in Bellingham, Washington. I don't know how well you can see the ocean from here, but it's just across the train tracks straight ahead. And it's a little bit windy, so hopefully you can hear me well. I wanted to tell you about my experience at the Harmonic Egg. So I went to the Harmonic Egg outside Sacramento, California. And boy, was it amazing. I didn't know what to expect. And I went up with my daughter. She did it too. But I felt like it just honed right in on the experience I was supposed to have. And it was a huge story that I was told, and I wanted to give you an idea of that story now because it was so beautiful. I'd love to make a video of the story I was told. So going into the egg, I was a little bit ungrounded because I was excited. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have the hardest time relaxing when I get in there. And I didn't want to waste any time while I was in there. But, spirit, your higher self always knows what to do and when to do it. Sorry about the traffic. As soon as I started recording, a whole bunch of traffic came through. It was so quiet right before this. I don't think you can hear that too much because I have the mic pretty close to my mouth. So it was May. That's so funny. Now the train is coming in for you, which I heard last night was very loud. Well, you're getting the real experience for Bellingham, Washington. So the egg experience at the location I went to outside Sacramento, and I will put the name of their business in the title so you'll be aware. The train is so loud. It was about a 50-minute session, and then they did like counseling after that. It was a really good experience. It was very reasonably priced as well. So when I first went in there, like I said, I was a bit wired. And I initially, saw a few guides coming in. And then it went right into the story. It was amazing. So the first thing I saw was an eagle flying, which was very profound. And I had seen an eagle before. I knew I was an eagle before in a meditation I'd had last year, I think it was, where I was literally flying from the eagle's nest on the mountain, like with another eagle. I was just following them. And that in itself was an amazing experience. So here they were taking me back to my eagle experience. And I realized as soon as I got into the eagle experience how profound it was. I didn't realize how connected to the birds I was, but also realized that the sorrow and the sadness I was feeling from loss, the entry point was not my human life. The entry point was my prior experience as animals. As I had pulled something out of my bag, and there was an owl that I had purchased earlier that just fell on the ground. So it was all about my bird experience. And as soon as I went into this eagle experience, I cried profoundly. It was like, wow. I can't express to you how intense it was. It was all of my loss, was the loneliness of this eagle having lost their partner since they lived such a solitary life anyway. And I was the masculine eagle, and it was so profound, the pain and the loss that the eagle felt for their entire life after they had lost their partner. So after they showed me this eagle experience, they went to the Paramahamsa, the two swans, who were it was a very opposite life where they were very loving and intertwined. Their necks were always intertwined with each other. It was a very happy, loving life. And even when an island would come between them and they'd swim to either side, they always had full trust that they would meet on the other side. They didn't question anything. They just knew they'd always be together, and it was a very happy life. Sorry about the trains. So this was just a very happy life. And then since they had shown me these two one-on-one relationships I had had, They then took me to a harem relationship in Japan as a human, but it was a circle of all the female wives. It was a very wealthy energy of Japanese harem wives, and we were all very happy with each other. There were no masculines in the energy they were showing me, but it was a very happy life. And they were contrasting that to the experience I already knew I had from the Tsang dynasty in China that was not as positive an experience for me as a harem type experience. So they showed me that. And then let me see where I am now. So anyway, a lot of this bird connection was connecting me to the experiences I had told you guys about before this year, when birds had hit my window at my house and I did some healing on them. And I just didn't realize the extent to which my bird connection was, which they really showed me in this presentation. That really deep eye-to-eye connection. So then the third story here, the Japanese and Chinese human harem connection, was just to show me the contrast between the one-on-one relationships I had had and how profound they were. And then I saw a prehistoric bird claw massaging something, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand. And then they showed me an elephant that was connected. And also they were showing me Big Bird and Snuffleupagus as a connection to this as well. They were very much in love, this prehistoric bird and the elephant, two animals who could never be lovers. And the bird would always be hidden. The elephants and their strong family and social base would never accept this love between the elephant and the bird. The massage of the claw was how they showed each other love. The bird would massage the elephant's head. It was how they showed their true love to each other. It was just beautiful. And they were showing me this as a contrast of how love can be. It doesn't have to be the one-on-one sexual love. Even though they had that sexual love with each other, they never could actually express it because one was a bird and one was an elephant. So as I was going on with these experiences, I started from I think I was in the third eye initially, in the crown, and then it was right into the heart for most of this experience. But then as I got into the prehistoric bird and the elephant, they took me down to my solar plexus. So as I got into my solar plexus, the music had changed. So each time the music had changed, it would take me to a new place. So I'd gotten into a very shamanistic place after I cried with the eagles. They took me into a more grounded shamanistic energy with the Paramahamsa, and then the prehistoric bird with the elephant. And each time they changed music and took me to a new chakra, it would make me uncomfortable again. So a little bit of anxious energy would come up so that I could see what I needed to understand and then become comfortable with it again. So I just allowed it and sent love to it. And showing me again the balancing of the one-on-one relationship versus the harem type relationship in a group and group lives. And I'd also seen a movie on the plane flying out here regarding group lives, and how it was called, I think Picture Bride, where a Japanese girl was shipped out to Hawaii for a Japanese man who worked out in the fields. It was a very difficult life, but they were definitely paralleling that Japanese life with the information I was getting. And I don't want to mess up the movie for you if you haven't seen it, but it was very much about how she didn't accept him because he had lied to her about his age in getting her to come over to Hawaii. But then her learning about him and about his insecurities as a man, but always being very kind to her, even though she didn't accept him at first, and just being patient, like training the horse. When the wild horse won't come to you, it's just about being patient and being there every day and accepting them just as they are until they're ready to come forward to you. Yeah. So, and actually in the movie, finally, when he actually had gotten drunk, and he didn't even know that he finally showed himself to her because he was in a very vulnerable state, it's when she had that shift with him. So everything was so beautiful and profound. And of course, I can't express the extreme profundity that I experienced because it was my meditation. But at that point, I was guided to raise my hands into prayer over my third eye and then slide my hands down over my nose, where I saw a puma, and then I saw a cow that was very serious, and here we are in the year of the ox. And by the way, I ended up seeing a puma yesterday because we went to a wolf adventure yesterday, which was wonderful. But I never thought I'd be seeing a puma there, which I did. And then I also saw a panther or a black leopard energy that quickly came in and out. So again, it was bringing me into that shamanistic animal energy. Then I saw a lamb in a field. And I was like another lamb looking at this lamb as I was backing away from this lamb and away from the field, and then realized I was on a truck being taken away to be killed and skinned as a lamb, and leaving the lamb that I loved. And as I was backing away and realizing this, and of course that was very sad to me, then they showed me a man in child's pose that had been skinned, and showing me that it wasn't the human experience that showed me all this loss and sorrow. It was the experience before the human, and it wasn't until now that I could see the wounded warrior, the human man in child's pose, having been skinned, and now awakening as a human. Started out as the wounded warrior, which was so profound. So then they were saying, but we're not finished yet, because you realize the animal lives is the second density. They still wanted to take me back to the first density, where I was stone. The stone of the coal becoming the diamond, and the millions of years of pressure upon that diamond, then being dug up, and then being cut. So the stone being cut was the wounding to the stone, but worst of all, they were showing me, was then being polished, because the polished was like being skinned for the animal and the human. And then they were showing me again the pulling away from the lamb. And I had watched the silencing of the lamb the night before, part of it anyway. And again, I'd seen these movies because they knew I was going to experience this, and they wanted me to parallel the information that I would receive in this meditation. So again, I was a lamb pulling away in a wagon, leaving my true love to be carted away, to be cut up and skinned alive, as in the movie The Silence of the Lamb. Then in Only Land, and I think it was the second silencing of the lamb, where the serial killer was literally taking skin off of the humans and using it and sewing it together. So they were very much paralleling the movie to what I was experiencing now. Then I was the human again as the wounded warrior, the male in the child's pose, skinned, right, because it was a very bloody picture. But only then, after having experienced the second density life and then the first density life of the stone, that the entry point wasn't as a human, it was as the stone. But they weren't done. The firsty stone had to be explained first, as above, now below. The cutting of the diamond, parallel to the lamb and the wounded warrior. But the worst was the polishing of the diamond, like skinning the lamb and the human, and all of those nerve endings, the worst part of it all. That the stone has consciousness. To dig up your diamond if you must, but spare them the polishing. And here I'd written down, in the movie they described how Buffalo Bill had prepared the body so that the skin then could be taken off and used to sew. And also a reminder that in that movie, Hannibal literally brought up Plum Island, which I just brought up a couple weeks ago. So anyway, only then, after the stone, and then the animals, and then the wounded warrior, masculine, in child's pose, skinned, would begin his human journey. But then I was still not done. They took me to the Sacral Chakra, and then the music came to a stop. And I asked, so what is it that I need to see now that the music has stopped in the Sacral Chakra? Why did you move me to the Sacral Chakra if the music has stopped? And then they told me my song, that this was the Christos Sophia line from my song that I'd written. And the first line of my song came in. In the silence, she was. In the darkness, she loved. No light, no sound, and no one around, but she was. Then he came, quantum no name, no face, no fortune, no fame, but he loved. So first the nothingness, and then the everythingness, the correction of the Sophia. And then it was interesting because the bike racks next to the hotel I was at in Sacramento, they were all labeled Sophia. I had lived much of that as a masculine in order to understand my masculine better. The loneliness of the Japanese man, finally letting his guard down to be vulnerable, as opposed to being the strong and the controlling man. That much of my heart pain and loss was not my human wounding, but the animal wounding prior, and the entry wound being actually the stone, the nothingness, and the nothingness before that. The entry wound that came long before the wounded warrior in child's pose. So, needless to say, it was a pretty intense, amazing experience. And if you have more questions about that, please comment below. I'll be glad to answer your questions. And I'll tell you more about my trip in my video this weekend. I just wanted to connect with you and show you this beautiful view. I don't know how much you can see from here. There's some birds flying over here. I don't know if you can see them. It was a beautiful trip here. I'll speak to you all soon. I hope you're all doing well. Rise and be loved. Bye.